Welcome back to another episode of Thunder and Lightning Interviews, I think we're calling this segment. We're here today with one of my best friends. I promise we'll stop doing my close personal friends after this month, but we just had to get this guy in. His name is John Plunkett, visual artist and musician. He's phenomenal. He's been doing some great stuff this year. Probably one of his best years this year. He did a lot. But we're very excited to introduce him.
And if you like when we interview people over video call, well, do I have some bad news for you?
Yeah, today we're switching it up. Today, in the studio, we have Mr. John Plunkett. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, John. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for that intro.
Yeah, of course,
You're
buddy.
too kind.
For people who are subscribers of our channel, people who know Thunder and I personally, John is in pretty much every music project I'm in, so for the sake of being a proper interviewee, probably won't touch on music too much. Feel free to bring it up as much as you want.
That's fair.
I just can't sit here and promote my own music nonstop.
Right.
But phenomenal drummer, phenomenal singer, phenomenal string instrumentalist,
Oh, thank you.
great musician. For our sake, and maybe even edited into the video, we'll have visuals for each piece of yours that we're going to be talking about.
Oh, sweet.
So, John, you've been an artist since a very young age,
Mm-hmm.
but could you, to the best of your ability, tell us how it all started for you?
Oh, man. I mean, I pretty much started as soon as I can remember, like 3 years old.
Yeah.
Drawing video game characters, Mario, and cartoons like Courage the Cowardly Dog, SpongeBob.
There's no chance you have any of those still, is there?
I think my mom saved them. They're probably in the basement
Gotcha.
somewhere under a pile of photo albums. They're definitely around. But yeah, just copying all these different cartoons. I feel like I grew up in the best time of cartoons. Like 90s cartoons are like next level. They're so weird. They're like mildly horrifying.
Right up your alley.
Yeah, and it really set the tone for my artistic journey.
So you started off with cartoon characters.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I know you, around 10 or 12, you switched over to landscape.
Right.
Would you say you went right from cartoon into landscape?
Yeah, it was a pretty stark difference. I started taking classes in Marblehead, and it was with a more technically trained art studio type of vibe where they taught me contrasting colors and mixing and showed me different artists from like Renaissance times and basically gave me the skills to refine the more detailed work and approach things from a more painterly perspective.
Yeah. Wow.
And
That's a lot
I
to
just
take in from a young age.
Yeah, I just fell in love with it. I think I started painting. I did my first oil painting when I was 10. It was
Is that the one in your basement?
Yes, it was like
Wow.
a artist copy. I did a lot of copies of Venice, Italy, and like different scenes that impressionist style landscapes, and yeah, I fell in love with it, and that's when I started taking lessons in Marblehead, and yeah, I've been painting ever since.
So speaking of Marblehead, you recently did a mural for Marblehead that actually made it into a magazine. Maybe we could
Yeah.
even get a picture of the magazine spread to put up here. That piece, it's said to hold a significant message behind it regarding Puerto Rico and the United States. Could you go more into detail on that for us? Could you kind of explain your intent behind the message for that piece?
I felt that now more than ever there's an importance as an artist to spread a message of cultural unity, especially after 2016. And I wanted to push the narrative that, Puerto Rico is a part of the United States and we can't treat it like it's this separate entity and not care about it. So the piece uses a lot of symbolism. I use a lot of toys from various cultures, and while it's centered in Puerto Rico, I didn't want to have it be a melting pot of a bunch of different cultures. So I have toys from Russia, toys from Sweden, all these different countries in this background landscape, like a tree with all these different toys
Yeah.
to celebrate the melting pot that our country is.
I was lucky enough to be there while you were putting this all together, and you can really tell the clear starkness between the dark and the light. The light on the left, obviously representing the everything we have here in the United States, and in the difficult time that the Puerto Rico's having.
Well, I wanted to highlight the natural disasters
Yeah.
and the hurricane.
And one thing you didn't mention that I do love about this piece is the sending of the little candles over to that side, and it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
And you have a tendency to put in calling cards, and we actually noticed that in a couple of pieces. But one calling card for you that always stands out is the birdhouses. And these will all be in the description. You can find John everywhere. But even the title for one of your art shops is birdhouse.
Yeah.
So, could you maybe give me a question I've never actually asked you before? I see you maybe 2-3 times a week. Could you maybe tell me the significance behind the birdhouses?
Man, I wish I could. I honestly, I just
no.
really like them. I think I like things that look vintage, and something you would probably find in like an attic of an antique collector. So I think birdhouses always give me that vibe of something that looks childlike, but also could be vintage or falling apart.
So you go for that vintage rustic look, which is,
Right.
I think, something that really draws me to your art,
Mm-hmm.
just as a friend, as a fan. Another calling card of yours I actually didn't notice until we were looking through your pieces for this interview was, at least between a few of the murals you've done this year, there's always seems to be a little rectangular-faced robot spider somewhere in the mural. But more specifically, not even the spider part, but that you always use a robot, and it's kind of always got a similar face to it. He might just be here or something like that. But I've noticed that. I don't know if that's new. Now I want to go back and look through your catalog, see if I can point him out some more. But I did notice in the last couple of murals you've done, he's popped up here and there.
Yeah.
Kind of same idea. Get that vintage.
Yeah, well, when I was in high school, I was introduced to an illustrator named Sean Tan, and he has really beautiful illustrations. Some of them are robots, and he's one of those artists. When I saw him, I'm like, I want to do that. Like, I want to emulate that in my own way. And it wasn't until like 2 years ago that I actually successfully was able to. So I've just been excited about it, and I've just been going with it.
You seem to have a tendency to use robots or machinery against what seems to be a rural North American backdrop. Could you elaborate more on the inspiration behind this?
It's a combination of things. It's a combination in my interest in antiques and things that look like vintage toys, and my interest in sci-fi illustrations, but also the landscape that I grew up in. You know, I'm in a really weird part of Massachusetts where it's woodsy, but it's also what's the word? Industrial.
Yeah.
It's like that intersection, and I would grow up just walking through the woods and see these huge telephone poles and wires going through the branches, and it felt like I was in a sci-fi movie sometimes.
Yeah. Well, every time we this is actually a great segue for another question, but every time you and I are coming out with some music that's going to need some art related to it, you and I always seem to have the same direction, because I love that too. I love that woodsy sci-fi aspect, and it's one thing I love about your art. It's pretty apparent in a lot of it, if not all of it. There's always an industrial aspect, but sometimes there's just these really beautiful landscapes with these sci-fi aspects. And it's one of my favorite things you do. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I for a while I avoided the landscape because I really exhausted it, and I just did it for years. And then but I learned so much from my painting lessons on how to approach a landscape, that I wanted to incorporate it, but in a more imaginative, whimsical way.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely a magical aspect to it. Gives me, this might be a weird thing to say. It's absolutely a compliment, but gives me some real Iron Giant.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
sometimes.
It's funny, I haven't actually seen that movie, but
Really? Oh, I think you'd like it. It feels like that would be an inspiration for you.
hmm
Speaking of murals, speaking of robots, speaking of rural North American backdrops, you recently did a project in Memphis.
yeah,
Speaking of Massachusetts, you were all the way down in Memphis.
yeah.
So this question's very simple. Tell us about that experience.
Oh man. Well,
Also, we love the piece.
thank you.
Funny enough, you mentioned courage earlier. Anthony was just mentioning how the house in that one gives him some real Courage the Cowardly Dog vibes, like where they live.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
seen Courage the Cowardly Dog, but I've seen enough of it to know that they kind of like their house is like in the middle of nowhere.
hmm
And it just sort of like immediately reminded me of that whole like aesthetic. So it's interesting that earlier when you were talking about your influences, you specifically mentioned Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah. If you ever choose to watch it, don't watch it too late at night. It'll terrify you.
Okay.
You'll have nightmares. It's a kid's show, but it isn't a kid's show.
Okay.
I had no right watching that as young as I was watching it. Like,
Yeah.
it's really disturbing.
Actually, speaking of which, you have it up right here. We
Yeah.
got a little debate going.
Okay.
Is your banjo robot friend
hmm
in this piece? Is he happy? Is he sad? Is he indifferent? We were trying to put a facial feature to him, and you know what the most realistic thing would be if it was none of them, because he's a robot. But-
yeah, but I think when I was doing it, I was imagining him to be kind of a stoic, silent but gentle
Okay.
creature.
Yeah.
Just enjoying his time alone with the turtle.
Yeah, he's enjoying his
Yeah.
little turtle buddy.
Yeah. The first time I saw it, I immediately was like, oh, a sad robot. But then I noticed that the robot doesn't have a mouth, so I don't know why I thought sad.
One thing I love about this piece, the lighting. Oh my
Mm.
god, because your only light source is the house, and it's so. I don't even know the words for it. I mean, you have the sky, but like the lighting on the turtle, you almost don't even notice the turtle at first, but it's kind of intentional
Right.
because of how dark it is, and you're only getting the highlights from the house. It's shining right on the robot's face. It's really beautiful.
Thank
I really
you.
love the lighting.
Yeah, I love working with lighting. I love making paintings that have just a wisp of a highlight, so you don't even notice it's there right away. It's just coming out of the darkness.
Yeah.
The great thing about lighting, which I like to remind myself, is if you make everything else dark enough, the one light source is going to be really powerful.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I lean into a lot. And even with my pieces that aren't in like a nighttime setting, I will have them backlit. Like it's either a sunset or dusk
Yeah.
or something backlit where I can have really harsh, contrasting tones.
Yeah.
I think that can make pieces really pop.
Oh, absolutely. No, another thing I really enjoy about your art. I did derail us from the question though. we would love to hear about your time in Memphis.
Oh, sure. So the cool thing about being a visual artist in this era is the use of social media and especially Instagram. I'm always on Instagram. And a person who I did a mural festival with posted this thing in Memphis, and she was going to submit to it. And I'm just like, oh, I should do that. I had never done anything like that. All of my
Yeah.
murals are in Massachusetts. So, I just sent my portfolio over. I wasn't really expecting much. I just did it on a whim. And I heard back. And it's funny, they emailed me back being like, we really like robots and music. And I was just like, oh, that's perfect. It's great.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Then I got to work. I went into Photoshop and, worked away for a few weeks and came up with the design. And it was funny. And on the plane ride there, it was like the first time I felt like a real artist. I was just like, oh, I'm
Oh,
traveling.
must have been very validating.
Yeah, I'm traveling somewhere for my painting.
Yeah.
Like, it was a really cool moment in my artistic life. The music scene is also crazy there. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
blown away by how talented these musicians were.
Yeah, you were sending me videos of.
Yeah, I'm like, how are you not famous? Like, how are these people just like playing a random gig at a restaurant? Like, they were crazy. So I recommend Memphis for that reason. But yeah, check out my mural when you're there.
So you can really see the difference from your physical art to your digital art. Do you have different inspirations you gravitate towards for each, or is it just what comes natural for you?
For my digital art, I've really been looking at visual development artists, like in the TV and film, like animation industry, especially background painters. So I try to use that as reference as often as I can with making digital pieces. And I also like that you can get everything so clean that you can make it look really lifelike with all the brushes that you can download. And it's funny, for the longest time I wasn't into digital art. I was like a purist with painting. Like I need, the actual medium. Digital art is like cheating or whatever. Because I was just raised in a way that's like very much a stickler for the fine arts or whatever. But now I'm just like, no, who cares? Like,
you're such a beautiful digital artist.
Thank you.
And some of your styles, it's funny, you had mentioned you've been going in that direction. I've also noticed a lot of like tattoo and that type of inspiration seeping into your digital art. And it's just such beautiful work in the what you get out of your murals with contrast and lighting and stuff. It's so much more present in the digital form, and it's because you can get like calculations precise, and it's beautiful work.
You can get super dark, super lights, and that just really amps up,
changes the game, I could imagine.
Yeah.
I can also imagine that like zooming in versus like using a smaller brush is a lot easier.
That's a good point. Yeah, because you use that a lot. Where you can zoom in. I was working on a fireplace mantle in a piece that I was just doing, and I was just zooming in on one of the arches of the fireplace, and I was doing it for like an hour. Just like, so I zoomed out. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm still working on a piece.
You've gotten more into working on album covers for local bands over the last few years. Could you delve into that a bit for us? Have you been enjoying it? Is that something you could see yourself doing further down the line?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I want to keep doing that as much as I can. It's a great, merging of my two interests, being in the music scene and being an illustrator. And yeah, I think digital art works perfectly with that medium.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing how much, I was just telling my dad this, painting is really like 50% waiting for things to dry. Like you're just kind of like, all right, I'm going to go take a walk or something. But with digital art, it's so immediate. There's no drying time. So I can just like,
go nuts.
Yeah, I can really make highly detailed pieces much quicker.
So you just did a showcase at the Gulu Gulu Cafe in Salem, Massachusetts, of a few holiday pieces that all seem to stem from Eastern European inspiration. Can you talk a bit about why you chose to go in that direction for this showcase?
I really love the aesthetic of Halloween. Christmas does not really match my interests when it comes to art, and when I knew about Krampus, but the more I researched and I found about Gryla and the Yule Lads and the Yule Goat, it's like, oh, this is so scary. And
See, I didn't actually look up the Yule Goat yet, but he's got some background.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They're all
is he
very.
A good guy? He looks like a goodie. He looks like a cute good guy.
I made him look that way as a departure because I didn't want to have it all.
Oh, it's a bit
menacing.
more satanic goat.
He has a few different stories.
Okay.
There's some stories where he just is Santa's helper and he'll deliver gifts. But then there's some where if you don't have your decorations up the way he likes, he'll mess with you. Like he'll
that's awesome.
Wreck your house and like
Oh, I love the Yule Goat.
Yeah.
He's a stickler.
Yeah, he's like, you got to celebrate Christmas. I'm not gonna stand for this.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Gryla, There's another one. She's like a Christmas troll.
Yeah, some
she-
Norse inspiration. there. That's
Yeah, she cooks children into a stew.
cool. Oh, who
Nice.
doesn't?
A very specific detail. It has to be a stew. Um,
For the Yule goat.
mm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's my
Fan fiction.
Fanfic, yeah. And obviously Krampus. I was able to get a Krampus.
Yeah.
Very glad I was able to be there, get my Krampus. And,
Yeah.
like I said before we were starting, I got to find a frame for him. But
Hmm.
I saw that and I was like, that's cool. And it's not necessarily Krampus from the recent film, but it's more traditional German Krampus.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I wanted to make him goat-like, but not to the extent that he is in like
Yeah.
the more recent adaptations of him.
Mm.
I wanted him to be kind of human-like, but with hooves. And I also took some inspiration from like, oh man, there's like these, I don't know exactly the culture, some Asian culture where they have representations of like a Yeti. And
I was getting those kind of vibes, so I was trying to put my finger on it. I don't know if I was going Asian inspiration more so just very old European inspiration of like just the face he's making and the position he's in. Like
Mhm.
there's something you would open a dusty book. And
Yeah.
there's Krampus. And,
Yeah,
and a
yeah.
description of Krampus underneath.
Mhm.
And I really liked it. The other two were great, but there was just something about him that I was like, "Ooh, this is ancient. This is
Oh, that's awesome.
I agree. It definitely reminded me of like, you know that thing where you'll find out about like the Cheshire Cat, and you know what that looks like, and you've seen it all the time. But then you look at like the first drawing of the Cheshire Cat, you're just like,
Right,
okay.
right.
That's sort of what the your version of Krampus reminded me of. Like, it looks like if you were like, this is the first depiction of Krampus, and then he got more modernized, I'd be like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because even when I was a little kid, I loved the originals more. Like, I would love looking at the original Donald Duck, or like the original, in Arthur the Aardvark, they'd have the drawing of him at
Oh,
the end of
yeah.
the book, and he just looks kind of just super weird. And yeah, I've always been drawn to that, so I wanted to have that vibe of like an ancient-looking Krampus.
Oh yeah, no, it's very well done. The other two are beautiful pieces too, and I don't know if this played any role into your choice in going this route, but you picked the proper city for it.
Oh yeah, I love Salem.
Ben Wiki, one of your best friends, and we actually our last interviewee, was talking a bit about the difference between German Gothic and New England Gothic, and yours definitely gave off more of a Eastern European Gothic approach to these characters, and like the cauldron, what's her name, the Norse
Gryla?
Gryla's cauldron and stuff. Just definitely, in like I was saying, these ancient, like it definitely gives off more of a German feeling for me as opposed to New England, but it still works perfectly for Salem. It was the right call.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially as a printmaker, I'm really drawn to German expressionism, and that might have been seeping into these illustrations a bit. So,
what is next for John Plunkett?
Right now, I'm finishing up a few holiday commissions, and after that, I have a bit of a blank slate. So I don't really know. I would love to do more murals, obviously.
I know you're currently in the process of working on an album cover.
Right.
For a band.
Froggy and the Friendship.
Yes, Froggy and the French. Well, you already heard him at the beginning of this interview, but yeah, our theme song, Froggy and the Friendship.
Yeah, they're super cool.
Yeah, very, very good guys. We're actually in a band together with the ukuleleist and lead singer of Froggy and the Friendship. But that's really cool. I know it's kind of tough during the holidays. I know Gulu is doing more stuff too, so you'll probably be back there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is official yet, but I think they're going to be doing a monthly art fair. So
that's
I'm
cool.
definitely
That would be really cool.
going to be a regular.
And
Salem is it's the perfect place for
Oh,
my
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it absolutely is. You'd fit in beautifully in the Salem art scene. Well, thank you so much for coming, John.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Do you have anything you'd like to plug? Anywhere people can go online to buy your stuff?
Well, you can find me on Facebook at Birdhouse Print Shop. My Instagram is, what is it?
That stuff's going to be in the description anyways. So
Okay.
Don't you worry.
Okay.
We got your Insta here, but we're going to throw all that in in the description. So you can definitely check them out on Facebook, Birdhouse Print Shop.
John Plunkett Art with 2 T's on Instagram.
Okay.
John Plunkett Art, 2 T's on Instagram. We're going to have a link to everywhere you can find John
also that.
artistically and probably musically if we can in the description of this video. But ladies and gentlemen, visual artist, musician, voice actor, if I might add,
Sure.
John Plunkett.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you,
for,
John.
thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Absolutely, buddy. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for watching. Please be sure to check John out. If you enjoyed this, we also have other collections of interviews we've done with people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. We do a plethora of different things. Please be sure to check it out. Like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy your holiday, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening and watching. And if you like what you see, please be sure to subscribe.
Our channel is daily uploads from podcasts to video essays, let's plays to skits.
Be sure to find us on Twitch and Patreon.
Our theme song is Sunny Day by Froggy and the Friendship, and our Let's Play intro is Sunny Bit by the same band.
Link to all these in the description below. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.